So I felt like it was really important to talk about shorebirds by habitat because sometimes that will help you ID them. You're not going to find every shorebird in every habitat, and some birds aren't even found by the shore. So let's start with coastal beaches and mudflats, the sand lovers. You're at the beach, you see a bunch of little birds running back and forth. They just look like they've had way too much caffeine. Yeah, those are Sanderlings, the classic wave chasers. They bolt up and down the sand every time the water rushes in. I remember when I was little, I used to just call them sandpipers because I was like, oh, look, they're just piping in the sand for those little periwinkle shells, right? And I don't even think they're called periwinkles. I think that's just what I was told they were called when I was a kid. But they've got plenty of company out there. You've got the black-bellied plover to start, a big chunky shorebird that rocks a bold black and white look in the summertime but turns gray in the winter. Next we've got the semi-palmated plover, a tiny version of a killdeer with a single crisp black chest band. Then we have the killdeer, the loud drama queen of the plovers, often found near parking lots and fields, but also chilling near water sometimes. Next up is the snowy plover, small, pale, and impossibly camouflage against the sand. If you blink, you'll lose them. Next up we have the piping plover, a tiny round puffball with orange legs and a sweet little black collar. I think the piping plover and the snowy plover are so super cute and adorable. They are. You just want to give them a little kiss. They're so cute. Next up is the Wilson's plover. Think of the piping plover but with a thicker bill and more attitude. Next up is the ruddy turnstone. These stocky orange-legged birds are always flipping over seaweed and shells like little treasure hunters, hence the name turnstone, right? As Sanderlings, we already talked about them, the hyperactive little wave chasers running back and forth at the water's edge. Next is a least sandpiper, the tiniest of the tiny peeps, with yellow legs as a helpful ID clue. Then we have the western sandpiper, similar to the semi-palmated sandpiper, but a little longer build and slightly reddish in breeding season. Then we have the semi-palmated sandpiper, a classic peep, but best ID'd by process of elimination. Then we have the dunlin, the only peep with a long droopy bill and a black belly patch in the breeding season. Next we have the Baird sandpiper, a long-winged sandpiper that prefers drier mudflats and upper beach zones, so keep that in mind when you're looking for them. Then we have the white rump sandpiper, hard to see, but in flight, the white rump is definitely a dead giveaway. This beach cruise sticks to the coastal sand, wave-washed shorelines, and muddy flats, so if you're going birding there, expect to see them dashing around in classic shorebird fashion. So next up, we have the tidal, mudflat, and estuary mud lovers. Now, if you're wading knee-deep in the mud, hopefully you've got waterproof boots on, but you've hit prime territory for some tall waders and long probers. First up, we have the greater and lesser yellowlegs, the classic tall, elegant shorebirds with bright yellow legs. The greater has the long, slender, upturned bill, while the lesser bill is more straight and proportional. I've seen these birds at the Everglades at Eco Pond in Flamingo. So next time you're up there, make sure you take a look during fall migration for these birds. Next up is the willet, the plainest bird until it flies, flashing that dramatic black and white pattern. Next we have the Hudsonian godwit, which is more delicate than the marbled godwit, with a slightly upturned bill and a rich cinnamon color in the breeding season. Then we have the marbled godwit, tall with a long upturned bill, perfect for digging into the mud. Then we have the red knot, which is a famous long-distance traveler turning brick red during migration. Fort Desoto during spring migration at North Beach is a great place to see a red knot, just as a little tip. Then we have the stilt sandpiper. Looks like a mix between a yellowlegs and a Dowitcher, but a slight curve to the bill. Then we have the short and the long-billed Dowitcher, which I like to call sewing machine birds, jabbing their long bills into the mud like rapid-fire feeders. But the short-billed Dowitcher's bill is still pretty long. It's not really a good way to identify them to see whose bill is longer. They both have a pretty long bill. It's a better idea to look at the body shape. The short-billed is a little bit slender and the long-billed can be a little bit more stocky. Then we have the Wilson snipe, a cryptic, well-camouflaged shorebird often found in marshy edges of tidal flats. These birds stick to mudflats, estuaries, and shallow waters, so if you're birding these spots, prepare to see some serious probing action. The next habitat we have is salt marshes and wetlands, the hidden gems. So not all shorebirds are beach bums. Some prefer the peace and quiet of the salt marsh and freshwater wetlands. I know I do. Solitary sandpiper is the first one. This bird is always alone, hence the name, with a bold white eye ring and a spotted back. I actually saw a solitary sandpiper once at Long Pine Key at the Everglades. So if you're in South Florida, this was during spring migration. Next up is the Hudsonian godwit. Yep, it's back. They also love salt marshes too. Then we also have the greater and lesser yellowlegs again, same as before, just a different habitat. And again, we also have the long-billed and short-billed Dowitchers. They also love wetlands because they're all about soft mud. So then we have the Wilson's phalarope, one of the few shorebirds that actually spins in circles to stir up food. Some people call them the spinning phalaropes, right? Super cute. I would like to see that. And then we have the northern phalarope, aka the red-necked phalarope. Another spinner that is also found floating on the water, spinning in circles to stir up their food. Marshes are prime real estate for shorebirds who like things a little wetter and a little quieter. Then we have the grassland and agricultural field habitats. These are the unexpected waders. Surprise, not all shorebirds even stick to water, right? So we have some shorebirds that don't even go to the shore, and now we have some that don't even go to the water. So first up is the American and Pacific golden-plovers. Gorgeous golden-backed shorebirds that love grassy fields during migration. Next we have the buff-breasted sandpiper, a shorebird that prefers dry, short grass over the beach. Then we have the Wilson snipe, another sneaky cryptic bird that erupts from the grass when flushed. These birds show up in agricultural fields, prairies, and even golf courses. So don't just check the water, check the fields too. I'd have to say that this is probably the least explored area for me. So next up is freshwater lakes and wetlands, the water lovers. Not all birds love salt water, but some prefer freshwater habitats instead. Like for example, the first one, the Wilson snipe, a repeat offender found in both marshes and freshwater wetlands. And again, the marbled godwit, occasionally showing up in freshwater areas too. And this last bird is so silly looking, the American woodcock. Not a typical looking shorebird, it is quite chunky and round and loves wet meadows. I have never seen an American woodcock, but I really want to see one. And the last habitat we have is Arctic and tundra. I'm sure not many of you have been up there to the Arctic and tundra, but this is where they actually come from. In the summer, many shorebirds head to the Arctic tundra to breed. So the first one is going to be the bar-tailed godwit, the record holder for the longest non-stop migration flight. Wow, that's so amazing. Then we have the red-necked phalarope, that tiny shorebird that's just as comfortable floating on water as flying through the Arctic skies. And we have the Wilson's phalarope, another Arctic breeder that spins on the water to feed, and these birds are born travelers. Their migration journeys are insanely impressive. So now you've got a better idea of where to find these amazing birds. But here's the thing, shorebirds are facing huge challenges from habitat loss and human disturbance. So keep in mind that next time you're at the beach or a wetland or even a random farm field, take a second to appreciate these travelers, give them space, avoid disturbing their resting spots, and if you're lucky, maybe you'll get to witness one of nature's greatest migrations in action. Thanks for watching, and if you've enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe for more birding adventures, and drop a comment below with your favorite shorebird. Happy birding, and see you out there.